Okay, good evening, guys. How are you doing today? Hi. Few seats are empty due to rain. Huh? Raining, no? Oh. Hi, Preeti. Hi, Rajeshwari. Yeah. Okay, so sorry, it got delayed little bit due to the traffic and all. So let's jump on. So what did we discuss in our last class? Auto scaling and load balancer. Okay, so in auto scaling, we have learned about yes, auto scaling meaning scale out and then scale in. And then we discuss about minimum, maximum, and desired capacities. Yes. And also we discussed about, yes, different types of scaling options. So what are those? Manual scaling, schedule scaling, and then dynamic scaling. And then also we have learned about launch templates, correct? We have learned about launch templates. And then we discuss about the load balancer. So load balancer, what is ELB? ELB, which distribute the traffic to the multiple EC2 instances across available zones. Fantastic. Okay. And then does the ELB has, okay, how do we access ELB? Using the URL or the DNS name. Is it possible to log into the ELB? No, you can only access it. So does the ELB has IP addresses? It has an IP addresses, but those IP addresses static or dynamic? Dynamic. Those are dynamic. So is it recommended to access your load balancer using the DNS name or the IP address? DNS name. What are the different types of load balancers we have? Application load balancer, network load balancer, classic load balancer, gateway load balancer. Fantastic. Which is the load balancer which we should be using it? Application load balancer. Application load balancer support what protocols? HTTP and HTTPS. Very good. And which one is the default choose load balancer? Application only. If you want to have a extreme high performance, network load balancer. And then this network load balancer support the static IPs. How many per availability zone? 1 per availability zone. And then which protocols that is support NLB? NLB supports which protocol? TCP and then UDP. TCP and UDP. Very good. And then gateway load balancer support what protocol? Gateway protocol. And then in application load balancer, we learned about routing features. Correct? Host-based routing, path-based routing, string-based routing, and all. And do you remember while we creating application load balancer or load balancer, so we need to create target groups, correct? Can we create target groups? What does the target groups contain? Targets. Targets is nothing but EC2 instances. Can we create rules in load balancer? Yes. Load balancer will be listening on which protocols? Generally, load balancer listen on which protocol? HTTP and HTTPS. HTTP and HTTPS. Which one is secure? HTTPS. Okay. Super, as usual. So let's jump on to next topic. Can you please confirm? Can you see my screen and can you hear me well? Okay, today let's talk about types of IPs. What is that? Types of IPs. So we have different types of IP addresses. What are those? We have different types of IP addresses. Mainly we have three types of IP addresses. Chiti. Mainly we have three types of IP addresses. What are those? Public IP address, private IP address, hybrid. What you went for? Where? What was that? Deployment models. Public, private, hybrid. Okay, man, that was a joke for me. Nice. Okay, so no. So we have three types of IP addresses. One is public IP addresses, private IP address, and elastic IP. What is that? So that we'll be talking about. Okay. Public IP address, private IP address, and elastic IP address. In shortcut, we call it as EIP. What is that? Elastic IP, EIP. Okay. So before I talk about that, so let us representatively, I'll show you what are these IP addresses about. So I assume this is AWS. So this is AWS. So you have your laptop here, correct? And from your laptop, okay, this is your laptop. From laptop, you're connecting to the AWS, correct? Yes. How are we connecting from your laptop to AWS? Using internet. Yes or no? Using internet. So we need to have internet. This is your laptop. Okay. Now, I went and launched one EC2 instance inside this AWS. I went and launched one EC2 instance inside this AWS, guys. Okay. I went and launched. So whenever you launch an EC2 instance, automatically you'll get an IP address to the EC2 instance. Yes. That IP address will be provided by whom? AWS. So that IP address is provided by AWS. And the default IP address that you get for the EC2 instance is private IP. Which IP? So whenever you launch the EC2 instance, which is IP address that mandatory that will be, you will get it? Private IP. So remember that is the private IP. So can I say that definitely you will get the private IP by default? Yes. So you will get by default. You will get by default. So can I say it is mandatory to have the private IP? Yes, it is mandatory to have the private IP address. And I would say it is mandatory. Okay. Now you tell me, from this EC2, from this laptop, can you log into this EC2? Can you access the EC2 instance using the private IP? So your laptop is in internet. Yes or no? And EC2 has what type of IP it has? Private IP. Can you connect to the private IP directly from internet? That is what I'm asking. So you have the laptop. From your laptop directly, can you access EC2 instance private IP? Can you connect to the EC2 instance with the private IP? No. Answer is no. So you cannot connect it. So now you tell me which is the IP address that I need to assign to the EC2 instance in order to connect from my laptop. What is that? Public IP you need to assign. So here you have public IP. Okay, this is the public IP. So private IP is mandatory, correct? Public IP is mandatory? Answer is no. Public IP address is not mandatory. If at all you want to connect from the internet, guys, if at all you want to connect from the internet to your EC2 instances, then you need to have the public IP. So it is not mandatory, it is optional. What is that? It is optional. And the problem with this public IP is, let's say you have assigned the public IP. Guys, you need to just select, you want public IP, yes or no, enable or disable. Which one we need to do? Enable it. Who will assign the public IP? AWS will assign the public IP. Okay, now AWS has assigned the public IP. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, for example. The problem with the public IP is if you stop and start the EC2 instance, what? If you stop and start the EC2 instance, IP address will change. What is that? The IP address will change. If you stop and start the EC2 instance, what will happen? The IP address will change. But sir, I don't want to get this IP address changed. So which type of IP addresses that you need to assign? Elastic IP. What is that? Elastic IP. Elastic IP, public IP, both are same. Both can be connected from internet. But the only big difference is public IP is dynamic. Public IP is dynamic. Dynamic meaning if you stop and start the EC2 instance, IP address will change. But whereas elastic IP it is static. What is that? It is static. So if you stop and start the EC2 instance, IP will change? IP will not change. You got this difference? So public IP, is it dynamic or static? It is dynamic. Whereas you have elastic IP, I call it as EIP, that is static. You understood the big difference between this? So these two are mandatory or optional? Which one is mandatory to have? Private IP. Which are optional? Public IP or elastic IP. Chitty, everything should be inside the VPC only, no? Okay. Now, from my laptop, can I connect to this EC2 instance using the public IP now? Yes. Now in what cases you need to use public IP? In what cases you need to use elastic IP? Chitty, now I'm the customer. And you guys are AWS engineer. So I have asked you to set up one EC2 instance and give me the IP address. I want to access it from internet. What you do? Will you assign public IP or elastic IP? Elastic IP only, no? Right? Why? So if you use public IP, what will happen? It will always change. If you assign the public IP, what will happen? It will always change. If you stop and start the EC2 instance, IP address will change. Again, you will say, sir, yes, sir, IP address has been changed. Please use this. Again, someone stop and start. Again, IP will change. Again, you will send a mail. I'm the customer, not your brother. Correct? So for customer, it has to be very good, right? So in this case, which type of IP address that you will assign? Elastic IP address. If you stop and start the EC2 instance, IP will change? No, it will not change. Good. So when to use private IP? Okay, now I went and launched one more EC2 instance here. So this EC2 instance will also has IP address. Wow, EC2. This will also has the IP address. Now you tell me these two EC2 instance will talk to each other using what IP? Within the VPC, within the AWS, if two EC2 instances want to talk to each other, which IP address will use? It will use private IP, public IP, elastic IP. It will use private only. It will use private. So private IP only is within the VPC. If you want to connect it from internet, from outside, you need to go with the public IP or elastic IP. Clear? Okay. So now the question here is, let's say you are working in some company. If you're working inside a company, you will be public or private? Private only, no? Your company network is a private network only, no? Yes. So I'll put it here. This is the company. This is the company. Guys, this is a company. From the company, you need to connect to the AWS, correct? Chitty, tell me, will you be working from inside the company or will you be working from the internet somewhere? Inside the company only, no? Will you be in internet? Will you go to internet cafe and connect to AWS? No, eventually, now we are in which situation? We are in internet only, correct? Are we working for any company? Do we have any separate network? No. But if at all you are in a network, if you are working inside a company, from the company, how do you connect to the AWS? So guys, here we need to have something called VPN. What is that? VPN, Virtual Private Network. Everyone knows VPN, correct? Do you know VPNs? Okay. So if you are working inside a company, the company people might have already set up a network to the AWS that is called VPN. So if you are sitting here inside the company, you will be connecting to the AWS using the VPN. So when you're connected to the VPN, it is okay. Now you tell me. Okay, now you tell me. If you are connecting from company, I want to connect to this EC2 instance. Okay. Do I need to come like this? No. I need to directly connect to this, correct? So this is my virtual private network. That meaning the connection is private to private. Yes, the connection is private to private. Can I connect directly to the EC2 instance using the private IP address? Yes, because you are in the VPN. You're in the VPN. It's a private network. If you have a private network, can you connect to the private IP address? Answer is yes. You got this? Differences between all these IP addresses and all. Now tell me, for the EC2 instance, you have the private IP, yes or no? Mandatorily you have the private IP, yes or no? Yes. So with the private IP, can you have EIP also? Yes, correct. Private IP is mandatory. So you can have EIP. So can you have like this also with only public IP? Yes. Can you have, is this possible to have like this? Last one? Answer is no. The last one combination you cannot have. Is it possible to have elastic IP separate, public IP separate for one EC2 instance? No, it is like having two names for you. All right. Is it clear till here, everyone? Understood? Clear? Everyone? So let's go and write. Yes. So public IP. So public IP, private IP, and then we have elastic IP. Okay. So what is public IP? Can I say which can be accessed from internet? Which can be accessed from internet? That is called public IP. Yes or no? Yes. So public IP is mandatory or optional? Public IP is optional. Very good. So public IP is static or dynamic? Public IP is dynamic. Very good. So that meaning if you stop and start the EC2 instance, what will happen? If you stop and start the EC2 instance, IP address change. IP address will change. So who will assign this public IP to EC2 instance? AWS. AWS assigns public IP to the EC2 instance. AWS. Okay. So coming to the private IP, private can be accessed from the internet? No, which cannot be accessed from internet. So private IP is mandatory. So private IP is mandatory. Private IP is mandatory. So private IP address is mostly static or dynamic? Private IP. Private IPs are mostly static. It will not change. It will not change. So where do you use this private IP? Can we say within the VPC? Yes or no? So within the VPC and also and through VPN, correct? And through the VPN. Nice. So coming to the elastic IP, Can I say it is same as public IP? But EIP is static. EIP is static. So that meaning if we stop and start the EC2 instance, what will happen? If you stop and start the EC2 instance, IP will IP will not change. IP will not change. Chitty, AWS are providing 5 EIPs are free. How many are free? Remember, no one generally will give the static IPs. They will charge you. Even your internet ISP provider, you have internet in your home, no? For your home, for your laptop, the IP address is static or dynamic? It is dynamic only. It will not be static. For 2-3 days, it will be there. After that, it will get change. So if at all you want to have a static IP address, you need to pay more to the ISP provider in order to have the static IP. Correct? So no one generally give the static IP. It is very rare, very scarcity you will have. Okay. So, but AWS is giving how many are free? 5 EIPs are free. Okay. Now you tell me you have got one elastic IP from AWS. Will you keep it ideal? If you keep it ideal, so whenever you get an elastic IP, you attach it to the EC2 instance. You assign to the EC2 instance. If you don't assign it and keep it ideal, will it be for free? AWS will charge, even though it is below 5. So the idea is don't keep it ideal. If you got the elastic IP, assign it to the EC2 instance. Don't keep it ideal. So EIP has to be associated to the EC2 instance. If you have not associated, if you have not associated or not used, EIP will be okay. If you have not associated, not used EIP to any EC2 instance, EIP will be charged. So if those EIPs are below 5 also, correct? If those EIPs are below 5 also, don't keep it idle. Okay? Idle EIPs are charged. Is it clear? Everyone, is this clear till here, everyone? CC, non-IT? All good? Nice. So now, generally, we might have heard this. What is metadata? What is metadata generally? Data about data, right? We have learned since your childhood. What is data? What is metadata? Data about data is called the metadata. So here we have instance metadata. What is instance metadata? Simple. Data about EC2 instance is called instance metadata. So data about EC2 instance is called instance metadata. So who has launched the EC2 instance, when it has launched, what type of volume it has, which security group it attached, which VPC it attached, which subnet it is attached, all the information we call it as metadata. So from console, you get this metadata from description, not description, they have changed. From details section. From which section that you get all the information of the EC2 instance? Details section. What section is that? Details section. So Chitty, if you want to get the information about the EC2 instance from CLI, from console, from where do you get? From details section. From CLI, you need to follow this below URL. There is one URL that you need to access it. This is pakka certification question. This URL http://169.254.169.254/latest/meta minus data slash. This is the URL that we should be using it in the CLI. When we go to CLI, I'll show you this, how to get the metadata. But this URL is perfect certification question. So what is the URL? 169, say, tell with me, say with me, 169.254/latest/meta minus data. One more, 169.254/latest/meta minus data. So remember, sometimes they will remove the minus there. Sometimes they will put metadata first and latest last. They will change these IP addresses, but don't get confused. It is 169.254, latest/meta minus data. Okay. Now we have learned about instance metadata. Now let's talk about something called user data. What is that? User data. Generally, the name itself is saying who will be providing this data? User. User meaning whom? We only, right? So we need to provide the data. So here, let me give one example. You are launching one EC2 instance, and I told you to install, let's say, Apache. I want you to install Apache. So what you want to do, what you will do, you launch a EC2 instance, you will log into the EC2 instance, and then you download the Apache, and then you install it, correct? This is how you will be doing it. But smart people, what they do is, okay, now you want to install this for 20 machines. Will you install this Apache for all 20 machines one by one? How much time will it take? It will take a lot of time. So what you can do is, you can write a nice shell script. What script? Shell script. You write a small shell script and put it in user data. How many steps are there to launch an EC2 instance? 7 steps. In one of the step, it will ask for user data. Hey Babu, do we have any user data? That meaning the script, what does the script contains to install Tomcat? To install Tomcat, to create some directories, to install patches, to install something, right? You create some small script and put it in user data, and then boom, launch the machine. When you launch it, what will happen? Automatically, this script will also get executed in the boot time itself. By the time the machine is ready, your Apache is ready. You want to install it manually? No. You understood? This is called bootstrap scripting. What is that? Bootstrap scripting. So this script will be executed at what time? Boot time. Your script will be executed at the boot time. The script which you have provided will run at the boot time of the EC2 instance. And also remember, now let's say one EC2 instance you have launched with user data. One EC2 instance you have launched with user data. You have installed Apache. Will you run the same user data again? No, no. So remember, this user data will be executed only for the first time only. Because how is it possible to install Apache again and again whenever you run the machine? No. So remember, this is also a certification question. User data will run only for the first time of launching the EC2 instance. And if it is a Linux machine, what is the script that you use? Shell script. If it is Windows machine, PowerShell. What is that? PowerShell. Clear? Any questions still here? Is it clear till here, everyone? Okay, nice. So do we need to worry about the shell scripting and PowerShell scripting? Don't worry about it. So if at all you want to learn little bit of automation, you can use it. But I'll be giving one example of shell script. Don't worry. So right. So in the lab, we'll use some shell script. Yes, this data will be saved. Yes, Jagdish. In the user data, the data will be saved. Okay. So now, guys, how many steps are there to launch an EC2 instance? Since day one, I was saying 7 steps. Now let's see what are those 7 steps, right? So I put it in your brain on the very first day. How many steps are there to launch EC2 instance? 7. Since whenever I ask this question, Fatak, you will say 7 steps. But do you know what are the 7 steps? Not no, right? Okay, now let me put all these things whether we have learned the 7 steps or not. Let's see. So whenever you're launching the EC2 instance, Chite, whenever you're launching the EC2 instance, okay, I'll put the heading, the 7 steps. 7 మెట్లు, 7 అడుగులు. Okay, the 7 steps. Right, that is not a fancy technical word. I'm just putting the 7 steps. Okay, see, the first step is when you're launching the EC2 instance, the first step is you need to select AMI. Chitti, what is AMI? Amazon Machine Image. That is full form. What is AMI? Copy of the operating system. What is that? Copy of the operating system. Do you remember AWS providing predefined images? AWS is providing Linux images, Windows images, Red Hat, Ubuntu, SUSE, and all these things. So do you remember AWS is providing a plain OS also, and AWS is providing OS with applications also, correct? Can we create our own images also? What are those images called? Custom AMI. What are those images called? Custom AMI. So in order to launch an EC2 instance, you need to have operating system, right? For that, you need to select the AMI. So AMI will be provided by whom here? AWS itself. So first thing is you need to select the AMI. So either you can select Linux AMI or you need to select Windows AMI. Chitti. There are so many AMIs available from AWS will make us available, correct? There are so many AMIs will be there, no? Amazon Linux is there, Ubuntu is there, Red Hat is there, CentOS is there, SUSE is there, right? Mac OS is there. So there's so many operating systems which is provided by AWS. But in our course, we need to select one AMI, correct? Will you select this and that? So what do we do is, let us set a benchmark. Let us have a rule that whenever you're launching the EC2 instance, which flavor that you launch is Red Hat. Which one? So please, whenever you're launching it, let's launch Red Hat only. Guys, because Red Hat is the most common operating system in companies we use. Will you go and launch CentOS also? Yes, go ahead and launch. But some images are free, some images are paid. For that reason, for sugar patients especially, so they'll go here and there, they click something else unnecessarily, right? So let's have a rule that we will go and launch only which type? Red Hat operating system only. Okay, ma? So for Windows, there will be a Windows server. There will be a Windows server 2022 will be there. We'll go and launch that flavor. Okay, ma? That is select AMI. That is first step. And what is the second step? The second step is select instance type. What is that? You tell me which is the instance type that we should be selecting it? T2 micro. That is a instance type. And then we need to give the instance configuration. Instance configuration meaning, so basically how many instances that you need, how many instances that you want to launch, right? And then you want public IP address or not, and then you want to put the user data or not, right? All the information, all configurations will come in this step, instance configuration. And then next step is we need to select storage. Storage meaning here what? Volumes. Excellent. You will get a, what volumes are those? EBS volumes. Fantastic. EBS volume. What is the default volume that you get? What is the different volume type you get? What is that? Root volume. So we'll get a, by default root volume, we'll get it. No, what does the root volume contain? OS, operating system, you'll get it. So how much size that you get for Windows? 30 GB. For Linux, you get 8 GB, 8 or 10 GB, you will get it. So that is a root volume. If required, can you go and have additional volumes also attached? Yes. Additional volumes you can attach. How much ever. What is the maximum size that you can have? 16 terabyte. Very good. That is that step. And next is select the security group. Which is a security group that we should be selecting it? Default SG. So do we go and create a new security groups? No, I said that until we are familiar with, don't create it. We'll be using the default security group itself. And then we need to go ahead and add the tags. What is a tag? What is a tag? That is purpose. What is a tag? Key value pair. What is that? We need to give the name of the machine, no? Instance. So I'll give name is equal to Linux server, or you can give anything. You can give the name of the machine. And next is finally a review. And at the last, again, you need to attach PEM file. Yes or no? We need to attach PEM file, no? What is PEM file? Remember? It's a key pair. What is that? Key pair. So this PEM file is a public key or private key? Private key. So do we have any default key? No. So what we need to do is, we need to create it or not? Yes. Create it. Create it. Do you need to create every time? One PEM file can be used to multiple machines? Yes. So Chitty, these are the 7 steps to launch the EC2 instance. Did we learn all these things already? So that meaning, are you ready to go and launch the EC2 instance now? That meaning, are we done with the EC2? Congratulations. We are done with EC2 theory. Okay. In and out we have learned. You got? So to make you understand these 7 steps, I took these many days. And you know, other people, they don't take these many days. They directly go and jump for the practicals. In the practicals, they'll go and click on launch instance, and they'll say, oh, yeah, my Amazon machine image. It is a copy of the operating system. Done. 1 second. For AMI, we took the entire class, correct? For instance types also, we discussed quite a lot. T2 micro, instance type, whether we can change the instance type or not. Do we need to downtime or not? This milli level of, micro level of technical topics also we have learned. Agree? Super. Excellent. So, officially, we are done with the EC2 syllabus, but there is one advanced topic here in EC2. So do you want that advanced topic? Yes, sir. Anyways, we have some time, right? So we'll go and hit that advanced topic. Okay. So this advanced topic is not free. It is charged. You no need to do it also in the practical. In practical, it's just a matter of click, checkbox. That's it. If you select the checkbox, that feature will get created. But let us learn what is that feature about. So, give me a second. Give me a minute. Okay. So thank you, Vishal. Thank you. Okay. So guys, before I talk about this, okay, by the way, the topic that I'm talking about is called Global Accelerator. What is that? In shortcut, we call it as GA. Global Accelerator. So what is this global accelerator? Before I talk about this global accelerator, I need to talk about, we have discussed about different types of IP addresses. Public IP, private IP, and elastic IP. That is completely different. Keep it aside. So basically, we have two types here. We call it as unicast. Why it is? So we call it as unicast IP, and then another one we call it as anycast IP. What are the two IPs we have? Unicast IP and then anycast IP. Unicast and anycast. Anycast. Okay. So unicast meaning here, same caster. One server holds one IP address. Because generally, one server will hold one IP address only, no? Yes or no? Right? One server will have one IP address. That is unicast. Whereas anycast meaning all servers holds same IP address. Same IP address. And the client is routed to the nearest one. So this is called anycast IP. What is that called? Anycast IP. So unicast meaning one server, one IP address. Whereas anycast meaning you have multiple servers, but all servers will have same IP addresses. Right? So I have a client. See, I'm a client. You are all sitting in front of me. You're all servers. All you guys server has the same IP addresses. So now, I have these many people here, correct? Now I want to communicate. I want to tell something. Hey, hello. I want to tell this, hello. I have here 50 people, for example. And everyone are having the same IP addresses. So that meaning now, who is very nearest to me? This Papa is nearest to me, correct? So now I'll tell to her. I will be connecting to her because she is the nearest person to me, right? And can I communicate to her? Hello? Yes. If I communicate to her and she will be able to communicate to others, all hello. If I go there and say hello, you will be responding, right? So because everyone will be having the same IP addresses. That is called anycast IP. That is called anycast IP. Okay, so just keep this in mind and let me tell you what is global accelerator first of all. So I'll make it very simple. So what is this? Load balancer. We have EC2. This is ELB. EC2. 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 Why my eyes are saying? Okay, so this is in which region? Let's say I put it in Mumbai region today. Which region? Mumbai region. Okay, and now you tell me, whenever I hit one application, let's say boom.com. Think and answer. Whenever I hit boom.com, which is the first service will hit first in AWS? Which is a service will hit first? Service, I'm saying. Before load balancer, what? Route 53. What is that? Route 53. Very good. So because in the Route 53 only, we just create a records, right? So first we'll hit the Route 53. All the requests will hit the Route 53 and Route 53 will be redirecting to the load balancer. Yes or no? Yes. Now there is some person in US and he want to access boom.com. This is my boom.com. Today, he is accessing boom.com from US. All the way from US, he is accessing it. Where is my origin? All the way is accessing here. Oops. All the way is accessing. Now, he will be using internet only, no, in order to access it. Yes or no? He will be using internet. He will be using internet. So if it is using internet, he'll be having so many hops. Hops. That meaning directly the request will go to Mumbai. No, first the request will go to his place. From there, it will go to some ISP. From there, it will go to some upstream. From there, it will go to, if US, from between some countries are there. From there, it will jump. The request will be going, jump hops and hops and hops. And then finally, it will go and hit our Mumbai. So as it is taking so many hops, that meaning we will have a high latency or low latency? Obviously, we will have a high latency. So in order to resolve this, in order to make it low latency, what is the concept that we have learned? CloudFront. Fantastic. We have learned CloudFront. So CloudFront has what? CDN. So US region has the CDN. US region has a CDN near to him. Yes, they'll have the CDN. So this US guy will be connecting to the CDN, and from the CDN will be connecting to the Mumbai. Yes or no? Yes. So the CDN is connecting to the Mumbai. So CDN has its own network, no? Content delivery network, correct? So that is a AWS network, yes or no? Yes, that is a AWS network. It uses it use a normal regular internet? No, it will not use normal regular internet. It will be using AWS network. So you'll have a low latency or high latency here? Low latency because it is through the CDN, no? It is through the CDN, will have a low latency. Now, I have one customer here. I have one customer. Remember, and this customer has some firewall. And he started shouting, Babu, give me the IP address of your application. Is it possible to give the IP address of our application? That meaning he's asking whose IP address? Load balancer IP address. Is it possible for us to give? No. So in this type of requirement, there is a feature called Global Accelerator. What is that? Global Accelerator. So AWS has Global Accelerator. We can set up a Global Accelerator here in the particular region. And this GA Global Accelerator will give 2 static IPs. How many static IPs it give? 2 static IP. It will give the 2 static IP. So this is Global Accelerator. This Global Accelerator is completely managed by? Yes, managed by AWS. So this Global Accelerator will give the 2 IP addresses. Can I give these 2 IP addresses here into the customer? Yes. And this Global Accelerator in turn will be connected to our load balancer in Mumbai. And this Global Accelerator using what, in the backend? It using a normal internet or AWS network? It using AWS network. And also it uses AWS edge locations in the backend. Guys, it uses AWS edge locations. Now you tell me, you'll have a high latency or low latency? Super low latency, you have it. So you got the IP address issue problem is resolved now, right? So you have the global, you have the GS everywhere. with the same IP addresses. So whenever your application, whenever your customer started accessing boom.com, it will go to the global accelerator. Global accelerator will have the same IP address, multiple locations. Whichever is the nearest location, it will pick it up and it will send it to your Mumbai location. So we'll have a super high availability now. You will have a super high availability, and then you have a super, what is it called? Performance also, correct? You'll have a low latency there. So this global accelerator will use, so this global accelerator is also using edge locations in the backend. You can use only plain edge locations, no issues. And if you want to set up, with the static IP addresses, then will you choose which one you choose? Global accelerator you choose. Why two IP addresses? For high availability. If one goes down, we have another one. Is it clear? This is the additional small topic that you get. Is it clear, everyone? So this global accelerator, you don't need to do anything. It's just a matter of checkbox. If you check it, give the name, and it will get created. Super. Any questions still here? Understood? And in our of course it is billable, guys. This is billable. This is billable. I think it takes almost $18, if I'm not sure, maybe $18. Okay, so one thing here, we discussed about the private IPs, right? I mean the types of IP addresses. IP address will be assigned to your NIC card, right? Yes or no? IP address will be there assigned to the NIC card. NIC card is nothing but what? Network interface only, no? Every EC2 instance will have a NIC card. Remember, every EC2 instance will have something called ETH0 and ETH1. What are these called? Network interface. What is that? Network interface. Remember, ETH0 is for private IP, and ETH1 will be assigned for public IP. Certification question. Remember, how many Ethernet devices can have permission per EC2? 2. What are those? ETH0 and ETH1. For every EC2 instance, you have ETH0 and ETH1. So definitely, which IP address is mandatory? Which IP address is mandatory to EC2 instance? Private IP is mandatory, correct? So that private IP address will be assigned to which device? ETH0. And if can you assign additionally public IP to the EC2 instance? That public IP will be assigned to which device? ETH1. Chite, Pusuk, if you have used ETH1 for again private IP also, private IP. If you are using ETH1 for private IP, another private IP, tell me, is it possible to have a public IP? No public IP. Because ETH1 is mentioned as public IP. ETH1 is associated for the public IP. And if you're adding another private IP to the EC2 instance, can you have public IP at all? No. So remember, this will be a certification questions. Okay, ma? Super. Take the screenshots. There is a question. Sir, will you teach DevOps as well after this course? No, Babu. So, Riyaz sir is only for AWS. But generally, students will have this, no? In school also, we have for maths teacher. For science teacher. But you want to have a tuition teacher, we can cover everything. Huh? Nothing wrong in asking, but no, I don't. Yeah, I know. There is a huge demand. Just imagine how many batches I might have completed in these so many years, right? Every batch after I completed, they'll ask this question, sir, please teach DevOps. If I start teaching DevOps, I think this entire building will not be sufficient. I need to use some GHMC big ground to teach Huh? Uh, okay. So did you took the screenshot? So next second slide. I would say suggestible, Anvesh. Don't go for DevOps classes now itself. Wait until we finish EC2. After that, you can parallelly go if at all you want. Otherwise, complete the AWS completely. After that, go for the DevOps. Okay, next slide. Yeah, enough. Intermediate level is enough, Akhil. Honestly, if you're asking that, Vinith, which SAR is best for DevOps, how did you guys land it to me? You attended demo classes, right? And you checked me for 2 to 3 days, whether the stupid fellow is teaching correctly or not. And then you have decided, correct? So I suggest the same thing for any kind of course, DevOps. So go and sit in the demo classes, listen the demo classes, and if that trainer is the right one for you, you will get to know how he is teaching, right? So you have to find out like that. Super. So can you give me the final CC for today? Nearly 20 to 30 runs suggest me to join your batch. Thank you, Vinith. I hope that is worthable. Huh? Can you give me the final CC for today, please? CC with smile. And guys, from tomorrow, dabidi dibide, right? From tomorrow, what? Practicals. From tomorrow, practicals. And we'll be jumping to the practicals, and I want everyone to complete the practicals on the same day. Okay, whatever the task that I give tomorrow, you have to complete the same on the next day by your coming to class. Okay, so that is all, guys, for today, and I'll see you tomorrow with the next EC2 practical. Until then, take care. Bye bye. Have a nice day and good night.